Okay, here I am. This was shot number 3 of the 30 Sabercat with the 150 nosler accubond, 25-34 feet per second, and it should be 100 yard velocity. We were shooting for 25-54, so we were 10 feet per second slower. I call that dead on the money. And we'll go see what we got for penetration. Okay, here we have the block. Looks like it bounced up, turned sideways. Might as well look at exit. And I'm not going to like the results. Damn it. Exit came out the side of the block here. I have another one. I'm going to go ahead and shoot that because I doubt I'll find the bullet. I must not have had things lined up. But yeah, you can see it. It came out the block there and hit the brick right there. Oh well. I'm going to take one more shot. Okay, I took a second shot on a 30 Sabercat, 100 yard, 150 accubond, 25-49, which is 25-44 was the 100 yard, so it's within 5 feet per second on that one. I took a second shot because the first shot went outside, left the block. And so now we'll see what this one did. The block ended up on the floor with this one. I picked it up and it pretty much mutilated it. For a second shot in it. You can see a entrance wound right there. Didn't come out. And I can't see it this time, but I'll saute the block and we'll see what we got on the inside here. Okay, I cut the block open, and as you can see, the bullet is right there. It got into the other wound channel, and it's at 12.5 inches in the block, and I wouldn't expect much less. We had a total of 27.5 inches with the other one into a fresh block, so it may have got into the wound cavity, but it still performed. We have it expanded good. Looks like good retained weight. You really can't ask for any more from a bullet. I imagine impact velocity around 2,500 since it was 2,544. And we're shooting at 10 yards. This is the 100-yard block, and it took 2 shots. And I'll dice it, but unfair to say because it took 2 shots to it. I tried to split them off, and I did, but they were still somewhat close. And you can see it there. The block flipped. I don't know how it went, but I probably cut into the top. But anyhow, you can see one wound track here. The other wound track was there. We just rolled it up. This would be the other wound track would be down here. So this wound track and this one are together. And it's just devastation. We don't need to go into it, but needless to say, a 150 accubond in the Sabercat at Sabercat velocities. I'm going to call out to 400 yards, maybe in 5. The other one's shooting a little fast, so but I'm going to say it's a 400 to 500 yard bullet. And now we're going to move on to the Valkyrie. Okay, here I am, 30 Sabercat, shot number 2 for it, and it was 2335 feet per second, 150 accubond, and shot number 2 should have been 2350, and it's 2335. Say we match that up pretty good, and that should be 200 yard velocity. Okay. Entrance wound is there. We're back on the 6x6x16 blocks, and we can see a good wound channel starting at about 1.5 inches. It looks like 1.25 inches, and we're looking at a wound cavity is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 inches, and I'd say we're looking at about an 8-inch permanent wound cavity. Okay, exit wound, entrance wound on the second block. And look at the pretty little bullet. And we can see the bullet right here. Looks like a good mushroom. Looks like a good hanging together. And we have 11 inches. 11.25 inches into the second block, so we have 27.25 inches of penetration, and it looks like it all stayed pretty good together. Here's the wound cavity from the other side, right through there, and it looks good. And there you have an accubond, 200 yards, and it just looks beautiful. Stayed together. with 27¼ inches penetration. Now on to the next one. And so you can see the wound cavity. This is the block from the 200 yard, and you can see the permanent wound cavity. And basically goes down to the bottom box. So we got a 5-inch wound cavity. And it's going somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 to 10 inches. And there's the other half. Again, these here are from the 200 yard shot. Okay, I just took 30 Sabercat. Shot number 1 was 1921, and that's about 100 feet per second faster than I wanted, but it was supposed to be the 500 yard, but it's probably going to be closer to 400 yard. I'll calculate it out, but it was supposed to be 1,811 feet per second, and my test round was 1786. And I chambered the round. I let it sit in the chamber for a little bit too long before I shot, and it was 1921. Okay, here we have the block. Had a little bit of a jump. Entrance wound was here. And I can't see the wound cavity very well. Now we can. Wound cavity starts right about there. Again, we're about at 1 inch. And it carries that wound cavity all the way through. It isn't a great big cavity. But I'm going to call it about a 2-inch wound cavity all the way to the back of the block, with an entrance wound. That split the block pretty good. There. Oh, block's had better days. Okay. I can't see the bullet yet on this block. I'm going to flip it quick. Okay, I cut open the block. This is the wound cavity from the 277 Wolverine 200 yard. And I pulled the block out, and here's the bullet. The accubond, and it gets penetration. It does what it's supposed to do. It retained weight. It just it didn't expand a bunch, but it did expand a little. Ripped the nose off, but we'll weigh that and see what we got. But expansion was minimal at 1900 feet per second. But we did have a 2-inch wound cavity, and we did have penetration, and it hit the block and it stopped. I'm sure it just barely touched it, but that makes 13 3/4 and 13 3/4. That's 27 and a half inches of penetration. But good tough bullet. We'll see what it does at the shorter yardages, and go from there. Good results, I think. Okay, we are on post-mortem. 30 Sabercat, 150 nosler accubond, and going for the permanent wound cavity and damage. Okay, we can see the tip there, and looks like it took about 2 inches when it started to expand. And now let's do this. It's about there for expansion. And then we basically have the same wound cavity all the way out the block for the most part. It goes down at about 10 inches, say. So we got 10 inches, a 2.5-inch wound cavity, 10 inches long. We have a little bit of the jacket there, the white tip there. I've already got the bullet. We got a little more of the jacket there from the tip. But I wouldn't be afraid to use that at 500-yard shot if I had to. And you can see some of it over here. I tried cutting it on the side so you can see all that. But that's the post-mortem 30 Sabercat 150 accubond. And again, it had enough penetration to just shed the tip. It hit the block at 27.5 inches roughly. Just touched the block.